your insight. You will stay with us as we move on to our next news. British police have launched a criminal investigation into musician Bob Vylan and Irish rap group Kneecap after their controversial performances at the Glastonbury Music Festival. Officers are reviewing video and audio footage from Saturday's sets where Vylan chanted death to the IDF on stage, targeting the Israeli military amid the war in Gaza. Kneecap also led chants against British Prime Minister Keir Starmer and condemned Israel in front of a large crowd. Police say they are investigating possible public order offenses and will consider applicable hate crime legislation. In a statement, they said there is absolutely no place in society for hate, acknowledging the widespread global response to the incident. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Starmer has criticized the BBC for streaming Vylan's set live as a media regulator. Ofcom now examines the broadcaster's decision. UK Culture Minister Lisa Nandy has weighed in on this incident. Let's listen in.
As a government, we strongly support freedom of expression, and as Culture Secretary, I will robustly defend the independence of our broadcasters and the right to artistic expression. But we do not accept that incitement to violence, hate speech or anti-Semitism is art. There is a clear difference between speaking out for Palestine, which is the right of everybody in this House and everybody in our country, and anti-Semitism, which is not and which will never be.
Now we have guest joining us live on this discussion, Jordan Cope. He's a Middle East affairs expert. Thank you, Jordan, for staying with us. Now, looking at this, could launching a criminal probe into artists set a worrying precedent for policing political speech at music events, or is it necessary to draw a clear line on what's acceptable in public discourse?
I will clarify that, generally speaking, as an American, I'm as pro-free speech as it gets. I'm more of an absolutist than I would be one who would want to regulate any sort of form of speech. However, we're talking about the United Kingdom, where free speech is not so absolute, and in fact, there is considered crimes for certain types of hate speech. So whatever the standard is, I would like it enforced equally across the spectrum when we see such hateful speech manifest. And in terms of the UK and the standards that it set according to its own speech codes, what certainly happened definitely crossed the line, and it should be treated accordingly to whatever the standards are. Calling for the deaths of, in absolute terms, of everybody in the IDF, one of the most moral and humane militaries in the world, is one of the most barbaric things I've heard in recent memory, especially in regards to having politicized this event to call for mass deaths of people who belong to the world's only Jewish state. And the timing couldn't have been any worse, just 20 months after one of the worst massacres of Jews in modern memory, the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust. The even more repulsive was the fact that BBC continued to live stream such footage despite well knowing and having been accused of anti-Semitic incidents in recent memory. It's one of the most repulsive things I've seen, and it's to no coincidence that Donald Trump probably rightfully revoked, and his administration revoked, the visas of Bob Vylan from being able to enter the United States. What I've also heard that was not per se featured or has been documented as such were some anti-Semitic rants that he went on before he actually made that speech. And so Bob Vylan is a hypocrite of the highest order as well. In 2021, I believe, he made a tweet about how people should just perform if they are going to be performing at concerts and not be going into these type of rants, which he definitely crossed a big red line.
Right. Thank you, Jordan. You will stay with us as we move on to our next news. UK's home